what's the line between activism and trailblazing and being blazed by the trail? I felt like I needed to discuss this, especially because so much of my channel is about having the conversation around media and like the state of media and how it affects us. And I typically do that through movies, but I want to talk a little bit about something that is near and dear to my heart, specifically around creative people, specifically around creatives of color, and how we navigate the powers that be when it comes to making stuff, producing stuff. The interview. Let's start there. Monique obviously covered a number of topics with Shannon Sharpe. One of the things that she brought up in the almost 3-hour interview was her infamous blackballing after the Oscar for Precious, which was a massive deal. But shortly thereafter, she actually was blackballed in the industry, whereas she could not secure roles. She could not, she was labeled as difficult to work with. And there were lots of rumors swirling around her. So Precious released in 2009. And here we are in 2024. And this conversation is still being talked about all these years later around the power in Hollywood, the people who have it, the haves and the have-nots, and how one decision, one move, how one person's perspective or opinion of you can completely tank your career. And we're talking about Monique, who has had a long-standing career as a comedian, as a star of a sitcom, The Parkers, and as someone who has obviously fought for her seat at the table time and time again. She also talks about in the interview her repeated mistreatment by Hollywood at the hands of Tyler Perry, Oprah, Will Packer, and others in comedic and media circles. How the universe brought her incredible husband and manager that she's currently married to. If you know anything about me or this channel, you know that I firmly am rooted in Jesus Christ and my relationship with him. So I can't really speak to what the universe did or didn't bring her. However, I do want to talk about the fact that people should stop trying to make Hollywood work. The time that I transitioned away from acting, at least in a way where I was auditioning and trying to get callbacks and that sort of thing, I was really tired of the stereotypes. I was tired of playing Black girls singing the soul. I was tired of finding myself over and over again having to prove my ability. And not to say that you shouldn't be able to prove, kind of your rightness for a role, but I was really struggling because I felt like every time I would go to a new spot, it's almost like starting over again. Even if you have a career or have a resume, you have to prove again and again and again that you are worth it, that you're worthy of the part. And I found myself really struggling to understand how this was sustainable. A lot of people talk about in the industry that you may not make it for 10, 15, 20 years and making it very abstract. What I mean by that is like, you may not make it to being sustainable as a career where you're not working another job. You are just making your living as an actor or as a filmmaker, as an artist. It was always a life that came, I felt like, with a lot of compromise. This concept of compromise is going to come up again and again and again and again in this conversation around people almost having to sell their souls in order to make it in Hollywood or in a higher echelon of society. I think that creatives, artists, people, and especially Black people should stop trying to make Hollywood work for them. There is nothing there for us. The history of Hollywood, it was built on the back of artists. There's nothing that indicates in the history and the foundation of Hollywood, the way that it came about, that it was for the artists. It was always for consumption. It was always for the audience, the people who would be receiving it. And furthermore, it's really even more beneficial and more profitable for the person who is funding that project, i.e. the producers. And so when I think about the history of Hollywood and what it represents, there's nothing in its history, there's nothing in its foundation that leads me to believe that it's going to end well for anyone who entangles themselves with it. When you look at the last, 100 years of cinema, how much has actually changed for the better for the artist? Our country is rooted in the subjugation and oppression of people. That is the foundation. That's the root system of this country. So unless we completely take out the full roots of this country, of the way that we do things, of the way that we run the country like a business, like a corporation, and corporations have more rights than people, until we undo that, I do not think you are going to find anything in Hollywood that won't reminisce of blood the way that the backs of people were used to build the country. And that's like a real heavy thing. Like, I know what I'm saying might feel like, dang, Tiff, why are you going there? But the fact is, I'm not even just saying this because it's Black History Month. I'm saying this because it's true. We as American people, our culture is not built around lifting people to their greatest heights, right? The belief in the country and the belief in the American dream is to pull oneself up by their bootstraps. And of course, we all know famously that Martin Luther King says, how you tell someone, and I'm paraphrasing here, how you tell someone to pull them up by their bootstraps, but they ain't got boots. Our work culture is steeped, unfortunately, in this dog eat dog mentality. So Hollywood, I think, is one of the oldest relics. It's one of the longest standing purveyors of this idea, of this system, that the people on the bottom, the peons, as it were, don't get to make decisions that would further elevate them or benefit them in any way. It's only about the small majority that are at the top. With Taraji, I saw a lot of conversations online when she cried about how her treatment was on the Color Purple set. And people were saying, well, what is she complaining about? You know, she's got money and she's making, $1 million and da da da. And what we see as the populace, as the consumer base, what we're thinking is, you should just be happy you made it somewhere, right? It's like, take the slops that you were given, it's fine. We consume and we enjoy and we laugh at their pain online and we talk about them on social media and we tweet about, like, it's a cycle. We become a part of that consumption machine that contributes to these studios and production people not treating the people any better. And don't even get me started on AI. I don't want to talk about it right now. We don't have enough time in this video to talk about it. But the underlying root system is crooked. It's corrupt. It is not good soil to plant yourselves in. One of the many reasons that I've stepped away from the industry, not because I don't consider myself an actor or a creative or a filmmaker, quite the opposite. I feel even more creative outside of that system and that auditioning process and that rigor than I did when I was in. And I think the reason for that is because I have so much agency and autonomy to create what I want to create, to produce what I want to produce, to not have to compromise, coming back to that word from the beginning, my morals and my values to participate in art making. I think that's a lot of where I'm coming to and where many creative people are coming to, is that we are not interested in being sucked dry by the powers that be just to be on screen or on stage or to be famous. God forbid, if you're somebody who's like, I don't care about none of that, I just want to be famous. Good, bless your heart. Good luck. I wish you all the best. And I mean that with no condescension. But when I think about the artisans, people that I know that I deeply care about, other creative people, other filmmakers that want to break into this industry, we don't need to fight for a seat at the table in Hollywood. I would rather draw the people out. The Issa approach. Issa Rae recently said something really interesting in a Vanity Fair article about the state of Hollywood. And I'm just going to read this so you can hear her thoughts. The headline says, Issa Rae thinks Hollywood is scared and clueless and at the mercy of Wall Street. And one of my favorite quotes in this article, she says, now these conglomerate leaders are also making the decisions about Hollywood. Y'all aren't creative people. Stick to the money. The people that are taking chances are on platforms like TikTok. That's what's getting the eyeballs of the youth. So you're killing your own industry. And I completely agree with her that my offering and what I suggest for any creative person, for any filmmaker, for any artisan that's interested in breaking out and breaking into the industry is go about it in your own way. If they can treat people who've been in the industry for many, many years, like nothing. I just don't know that we need to go and see for ourselves and experience that same mistreatment. In fact, I almost wonder if there's not a point in our journey that we come to, or many points in our journey where we come to, where we're having to say no more than we're saying yes. And those no's are adding up for us in terms of our integrity, in terms of our value, and making sure that we don't have to continue to compromise ourselves for the sake of creating and making stuff. My goal in this 2024 is to pursue the places that accept me, and to be a part of the places that receive me. And I was thinking about this in scripture. There is a story where Jesus is telling the disciples about how to kind of navigate evangelizing in all the different towns. And he sends them out 2 by 2. And he says to them, when you go to a town, you're going to share the message, the gospel of Jesus Christ with the people in the town. And if they receive your message, they are blessed and you're able to stay in that town for a few days. But if they don't receive you, shake the dust off your feet and keep it moving. That's the paraphrase version. This is not for you to keep trying to gather the allies, to gather the followers, to gather the true believers. This is for you to recognize, to discern that this culture is bankrupt, that this culture is not going to receive your message, and you go on to the people that do. If this was valuable to you, I would love it if you would leave me a comment down below. Let me know, did you watch the Club Shay Shay interview? What are your thoughts on the state of Hollywood right now? And do you agree or disagree with me? I'd love to hear your feedback in the comments below. And also, thanks for watching my first video back in a very long time. I'm finally in a place where I want to make videos consistently. And I've said that for the last couple of years, let's be honest. But this year is different. This year is different because I am on a mission to really expand redemption in media. That is my production company, but it is also my heart for the work that I do. And I want to find the threads in media and entertainment that really grow people, and to expand on those, and then also comment on the threads of the things that might be destroying us psychologically, spiritually, emotionally. And I will continue to do that through film analysis, through comedy movie analysis, through scene analysis. So I encourage you, if you're into that sort of thing, if you want to get into the deep recesses of my mind and talk all things movies, I would love to have you here. I would love for you to subscribe and hit the bell notification. But I am very grateful for you if you watched any part of this and you thought it was interesting. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye now.